Well, good morning, everybody. You look so bright and cheery. I am unlike Todd. I came down last night, but it was still 90 minutes. It was really good. I'm so pleased to be here. I love coming down to Portland. I love coming down to the chamber dinners. So thank you all for coming and for inviting me. Todd, I am a little disappointed. There's 32,000 alums. Where are they? I mean, that's what we're...
In the wings.
Well, in that spirit, I've got to start my morning with saying a good morning to all of you and all of the black bears in the audience. So can I ask the University of Maine alumni just to stand and do a round of applause? How many alums do we have in the audience? Oh, my goodness. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, and you make us proud in everything you do. I was a little concerned. I saw some folks slowly standing up, wondering whether they should stand up. If there's any concern about your degree, you let me know, and we'll look that up. Well, what I want to do today in the time that we have, we're going to go through a number of slides and share with you, for those of you who haven't been up to the campus in a long time, a chance to see where we're going. For those of you who know well the University of Maine, to inspire you to what your alma mater is doing. But our purpose here, and my appreciation for coming, is that the Blue Sky Project is a strategic planning effort that has just been completed this summer and approved by the Board of Trustees. And our challenge, and anytime as a new president, you wonder what you're going to come in to do to help move the university forward as quickly and efficiently as possible. And we're going to talk a lot about the challenges of higher education, particularly related to economic development. But the Blue Sky Project has been the focus, the singular focus of the University of Maine family. That would be students, alums, faculty, staff, of how to clearly see the challenges we face in Maine and the country and the world, and how do we take an active approach to help solve that. And so our title today is Blue Sky Thinking, a New Plan for Higher Education. This won't be Nobel Prize winning today, but I hope that you'll share with me the inspiration that we're serious about moving forward. So what I'd like to do is give you a little bit of background and context, and then we're going to move through some slides to introduce you to where we are at Maine and the challenges we face, and I look forward to your questions about where you think we should go and the challenges that you'd like to share with us today. I really want to begin in a very special place because 150 years ago, Justin Morrill, the United States Senator from Vermont, in the worst times of our country, Civil War, worked with Abraham Lincoln to pass the Morrill Land Grant Act. Now, many times we talk about the University of Maine as being a land grant university, and sometimes nobody knows what that means. It's an old term, but yet it still has the meaning that coming out of 150 years ago, the federal government felt it was important to put land in every state. For what purpose? To allow every man access to higher education. Access was the key. And why? Not just to make them an informed citizenry, but for them to contribute to the welfare and economic development of the state. And so when higher education pre-Civil War was perhaps in the hands of the private institutions, the Morrill Act, perhaps considered one of the greatest acts for democratization in the history of our United States, formed the University of Maine in this state. An incredibly important act to provide access and economic development and an enlightened citizenry. 1862 was when that hit Maine, and then of course 1865 was the formation of Maine. And so we'll be celebrating our 150th anniversary in 2015. We look forward to that very much. Well, I know many of you were not here during this time, but this is what the campus looked like in 1896. One of the earliest pictures we have, it happens to be in the center, is the president's house. It's still beautiful. I still love it. Grace and I enjoy being there with our daughter, Jenny. But the campus has grown tremendously. Those of you who are alums who haven't been back, maybe that's your remembrance of Fogler Library on the Mall. Anytime I go out and talk to alumni groups, it is the mall in their mind that they think of the University of Maine. It's a wonderful, iconic place at the University of Maine, designed by the Olmsted brothers, who designed Central Park and then Washington, D.C. plazas. So this is what it looks like today if you haven't been up. I use this opportunity to say, come on up anytime. We'd love to have you there. But the University of Maine is now very much committed to moving forward in a variety of ways. We are Maine's public research university. And I want to spend just a little bit of time on that because it's fundamental. We are Maine's land-grant public research university. And at the end of our time together today, I hope you leave with a real understanding that that is a gem for the state of Maine. And I'm here to share with you, we want to be your partner to value that, to enhance that, particularly in the partnerships with our sister institutions in the state and our legislators and our corporate sponsors. But I wanted to share with you a couple of concepts about what is the value of public research universities. There's only one of those in the state of Maine as defined by the land-grant National Research Registry, if you will. And that's your University of Maine. So I want to read this for you. What is the value? John Seeley Brown, I thought, was a great writer talking about land grants in public. He said this: the emergence and growth of these institutions in the 20th century, this is where the largest growth occurred for institutions like the University of Maine, helped the country to become a leader in scientific and technical innovation and laid the educational foundation for the affluence that Americans have enjoyed. That's a pretty strong statement. And that's the value and resource that we have in an institution as old and revered as the University of Maine. Well, let's think about public research universities. So at public research universities, like Maine, across the country, actually educate 85% of undergraduate students and 70% of graduate students enrolled at all research universities. So the public research university is a very significant component of higher education in America. 1.5 million students are in institutions like the University of Maine. And 60% of the $32 or so billion of spending on research occurs at these kinds of institutions. So these are drivers of economic development across the country. And this is what you'll see always associated with the public land-grant research universities. The local economic impacts not only result from the innovative outputs of the faculty, the simulation and stimulation of corporate R&D, the partnerships in R&D, startups and new businesses, the technology and commercialization that we're going to talk a little bit more this morning, the real attraction of venture capital. The studies that you look at, the value of having a public research university is that the concept of tying it to economic development, that's always on the short list of firms looking to come to the state or transfer. And then having the high-quality graduates from the workforce. I mean, we're going to talk about research and technology transfer, but also the workforce development component is significant. And we'll talk about what's coming out of the University of Maine. But the workforce development and the economic component of technology transfer and commercialization is critical. And it's interesting, as you look through studies on what is the value of public research universities and how do you determine that, the key factors for success is that one point is the high-quality faculty, research, and graduate programs that help tie in the quality of the technology or the economic development coming out of the institution. So we talk about Flagship, and I want to just say a comment about that. In all of our systems across the country, usually the largest, the most comprehensive institution is usually defined as the flagship of the fleet. That naval metaphor has been significant for many years. Where it gets misread and misunderstood is when people suggest it is an arrogant, elitist institution. I'm here to tell you that the University of Maine is not here any longer to be arrogant or elitist or anchored in the bay in Orono. You know, we're here to help partner and to lead and to join. I am so glad to see Ron Cantor here. Ron is a great friend. Ron and I came together at the same time. We look forward to new partnerships. I'm sorry Theo is out of the country, but we have new relationships with USM and all of our sister institutions under the leadership of Chancellor Jim Page. We are really struggling to figure out how to function and move forward as not only a system at the University of Maine system, but Maine higher education. And if all of our relationships are like what Ron and I had, I look forward to great things. So Ron, thanks for coming this morning. So the flagship campus, the flagship concept, is we are taking the responsibility of mentoring and leading. We have the largest percentage. That bodes great responsibility. I came across a recent study, and I want to share it with you, and then I'm going to go through just a couple of quick data slides to show you where we are at the University of Maine. Flagships must lead. Flagships must demonstrate leadership. And where flagships have gone across the country, remember, Maine is compared to Vermont, is compared to New Hampshire and Ohio State and Texas A&M. We're in that group of flagships. We compete internationally on research and do quite well, and I'll show you some of that data real quick. But one thing that we don't want to lose sight of when it comes to the moral act, remember, it was access. It was access. And I'm going to suggest to you, a recent study came out in 2010, done by the Education Trust, that compared all of the flagships, all the sister institutions of land-grant flagships like the University of Maine, about how well they're doing with low-income students, minority students, and their success. And remember, that was the vision of us as a major flagship land-grant institution. Providing access, providing an opportunity to succeed, and enhancing economic development. This is what comes out of this study. This is the quote from the study, and I want to read it to you. Public flagship universities provide excellence to students who cannot afford high-quality private institutions. That was the wisdom of public access. Some flagships are stepping up to the challenge and focusing on access and success. This report that I'm going to give you just a quick excerpt from includes rating of all 50 flagships, including us, the University of Maine, on access for low-income and unrepresented minority students, the relative success of those students, how they earn a degree, and changes in those figures over time. Essentially, how well are they doing? And I am so proud to share with you the results of that study. 4 institutions, the University of Florida, the University of Maine, the University of Utah, and West Virginia University won the highest marks for both their current overall performance on measures of equity and for their progress. And I will write this down and have you all take a passage home. The highest overall performer currently is the University of Maine. Give your flagship university a hand. You know, I wish I could take all the credit for that, but it's 2010. It was, the wonderful work that the state and the people at the University of Maine have done to maintain its service to Maine and yet compete on an international scale in research and economic development is remarkable. So with that as a quick foundation, I'd like to go through a number of slides just to show you what's happening at Maine, to give you some numbers, and then we'll end off with just a couple of words on economic development. Looking at our enrollment, I want to talk a little bit about our teaching, I want to talk a little bit about our research and outreach, and then our economic development as well. So these are some fall enrollment numbers. We're at about 11,000 students. 81% are undergraduates, 19% are graduates. We're going to be looking at that particular enrollment ratio. This year we had 2,555 new freshmen, 10% increase over last year. We are really striving to increase the quality and quantity of students coming to Maine. Here's a key point. UMaine was the first choice of 75% of our first-year students, and that is up significantly. The other interesting part, we talk about access and serving students. 28 valedictorians and 35 salutatorians are in that first-year class. So we continue to attract quality and meet the needs of students who need assistance. If you don't know the breakdown of students at the University of Maine, I just wanted to show you that this is where students come and how they're distributed amongst our colleges. Liberal Arts and Sciences is the largest college, followed by Natural Sciences, Forestry, and Agriculture, and then going right down the list of colleges. We do a comprehensive approach. We have extraordinarily excellent programs that provide the most comprehensive education for students in a variety of the disciplines. If you didn't know how they're coming out, I wanted to just touch base with you on the degrees that we conferred. The key number for you to look at is 2435. Last year we graduated almost 2,500 students. It was the largest graduating class in the history of the University of Maine. So workforce development in those particular areas, we graduate 296 engineering students. That's a significant amount of students, a significant contribution to the workforce. And every time I travel around the state, I continue to hear more requests. You need more engineers. And so we have that challenge, is to figure out how to continue to provide highly trained workforce. I've talked a lot about this with individual folks even this morning. I wanted to show you where people are going after Maine. 65% of students are employed full-time after they finish UMaine, and an additional 10% or so, 9 to 10%, go on to graduate school. So we do have a pretty good success rate of students having success after they graduate. But where do they go? And this is a really critical slide. I just want to focus on the middle slide. 79% of in-state students who come to the University of Maine and graduate stay in Maine. That's a strong, important factor that we want to keep focused on. The other one that we want to work on is to the right of that, the out-of-state students. We only get about 22% of students who stay in Maine who are transfer students or come in from out of state. We're committed to that group of introducing them to a lifelong experience in Maine. And that's a challenge for us that we want to work with our partners. For the education that Maine students are getting, we are highly regarded as a top-tier national research university. So originally, the flagship mission is still being fulfilled, and we're getting recognized at that quality. The other concept that we should all be proud about with the resource at the University of Maine is the strong research depth. The University of Maine receives almost $100 million of research funding. We spend about $100 million in research expenditures to promote research and economic development. Basic research, scientific research, applied research, whether it be in the Climate Change Institute, the Advanced Structures and Composites Center, the Marine Sciences Center, LAST, our sensor development work. These are all wonderfully cutting-edge, technically deep opportunities to be nationally competitive. And these are some of our national and world-class centers of excellence. The thing that's unique about Maine is that we tie in our students in everything we do, the undergraduate research experience. I am always amazed when I do tours on campus of our major research centers that are highly funded from the federal government, that have extensive work in Maine and across the country. Many times students are telling me about how the project works, and that's really wonderful. The other aspect that makes our research capability so strong is that we are the primary PhD offering program in the state. We have 30 doctoral programs. We have strong students in our science doctoral programs. The graduate student backbone is really critical and important. I wanted to give you just a couple of numbers about our technology and commercialization, because this is the outcome of our research. We could have lovely research and stay in Orono, but we do want to extend it to new discoveries and new businesses. So just to give you an example, from 2007 to 2012, we have, through our Department of Industrial Cooperation, working with businesses, providing services, enhancing operations, has been about a $16 or $17 million income source of providing services to enhance businesses. The number of patents has been 134. The number of license agreements is about 28. But giving you a list of those targeted areas, we really have tried to align our research and economic development foci with Maine's technology sectors, which you would see. And again, I wanted to just underscore the work that's going on at the University of Maine is highly recognized as one of the top American research universities. And here's the rub. When we're listed in the top 100, we're at number 97 of public research universities. So we are looking at that $100 million enterprise. And you can see who's below us and who, doggone it, is just ahead of us. My good friend Mark Huddleston, the president of UNH, knows I'm right after him. He's not looking yet, but he'll be looking behind. But the challenge for us is that we have this incredible standard and role in the fraternity of American research universities. We are highly regarded. But remember, our vision is to be the most student-centered and community-engaged. We could very readily retreat behind the walls, if you will, and just do incredibly deep research. But we're committed to applying it and to moving forward with the state of Maine and the country. And that's why that early recognition as access and success, coupled with incredible success in research, makes that vision of the Blue Sky Plan so important. And our cooperative extension service, as you know, reaches to every county. That's that community engaged portion that we're so committed to. And when you think about all of this enterprise, it's not about just living in Orono and doing it. We are so committed to outreach. The overall annual economic impact done by our economic impact study is actually totally of $780 or so million to the Maine economy. Almost a 1 to 5 or 1 to 8 return. Everything the state invests in Maine through all of our operations has an 8-fold return through a variety of different formats. So we are really committed as a partner, not just a receptacle of revenue, we are committed to partnering to move Maine forward. So that's where the Blue Sky program came out from. The Blue Sky project was, says, we've got this incredible resource, but we're struggling with financial stability. We're struggling to keep moving forward in a state that's struggling with the economy. And I've given you just a couple of aspects of the state financial situation that you all know, so we can cry about it and we can sing the blues, or we can really think positively and become blue sky thinking. And that's where the Blue Sky Project came out of, the state we're in and what to do. First and foremost, I wanted to emphasize that higher education has traditionally been primarily funded by public appropriations. That's a challenge. Our challenge is to figure out a more entrepreneurial way if state appropriations become limited. What do we do? And so this is the blue sky vision. I mentioned it just a little earlier. The University of Maine aspires to be the most distinctively student-centered and community-engaged of the American research universities. And that's built, everything I've said in those bullets is what I've built to you this morning, is we can do that based on who we are. Incredible investment from the state of Maine and the people of Maine. And this is the Blue Sky Plan. This is where we're aspiring to go. We've called them the 5 pathways. You can imagine going through a whole almost year-long strategic planning process. There's a lot more than 5 ideas out there. Consensus building. Our plan is a fully based consensus that now really focuses on 5 manners. And so what does it boil down to? And copies of the Blue Sky Plan are available to you out at the alumni table. Please take one. If you need one, don't hesitate to call my office. We'd love to have you see what we're doing. But everybody should have one on their bed table at home. Really good. Number 1, serving our state, catalyzing Maine's revitalization. We have the capability to partner and think and work together. Number 2 is securing our future, ensuring financial sustainability. We know we've got to do business better and more efficiently. We need to work within the system to do that, and with Chancellor Page, I think we're doing that very effectively, and my fellow presidents. How do we run the operation better? But we also have to seek new revenues through very aggressive enrollment management, very aggressive philanthropy, and then better technology transfer and commercialization. Our pathway 3 is embracing a culture of excellence, promoting a spirit of community and collaboration. We have to reinvest in our staff, both our faculty. We have a workforce that's done extremely well and they're tired. We have to continue to realize, how do we help them be incentivized to continue to do well and to do good work, and to talk about the great things that are going on at the University of Maine. Our pathway 4 is transforming lives, really focusing on the undergraduate and graduate experience. We want to ensure that students coming out have the kind of outcomes that we would expect. We're committed of students getting what they pay for. And then pathway 5 is really a stewardship of place component. We talked about being here 150 years. That's good and that's bad. We got 50-year-old buildings that are not doing so well. We want to provide a learning environment that is world-class, commensurate with world-class faculty. Those pathways is what we're really truly committed to. And that's the Blue Sky Project, of really focusing on partnering and revitalizing all that we do. I wanted to share with you the relevance of the Blue Sky Plan. And I had just shared this with the Board of Trustees, and it's as detailed as it is. And a document came out of Washington that was a huge working group between corporate and higher education. And it was basically called Research Universities and the Future of America. It kind of comes back to where we began our talk. Look at this quote from the National Academy of Sciences in June of 2012. As America pursues economic growth and other national goals, its research universities have emerged as a major national asset, perhaps even its most potent one. And there are 3 foci of that project, I've just summarized it for you. Revitalizing partnerships, it's the focus of the Blue Sky Plan, through both federal, state, business, and philanthropy. Strengthening the research universities by ensuring they run more efficiently, which I've shared with you as our primary goal of ours. Full R&D support from the federal government. Strategic investment programs to build the faculty through endowed chairs and endowed professorships to make sure that quality is there, and then building talent. How do we ensure the graduate student programs for the research university are really training the kind of people we have? And I'm going to just close in 3 quick examples of how we are really partnering in some creative ways. Many of you know that we received a $3 million grant from the Blackstone Foundation, where our innovation engineering program that is so community engaged and so oriented is going out and partnering to develop innovation hubs, working with businesses to start new businesses, to understand the concept of innovation. We want to be known as the Innovation University, and so we're partnering to train innovation, to train entrepreneurship, and to move forward in a variety of different ways throughout Maine. The Forest Bioproducts Research Institute is our strongest commitment to biofuels development. We just opened the new Technology Research Center in Old Town, renovation of an old mill, where we have, think about it, the opportunity to transform wood products, wood chips, to jet fuel. You talk about the 21st century mission of Flagship land-grant university that started 150 years ago by agricultural methods of looking at different ways to use agriculture products. How better for us to look at ways to promote biofuels? And that partnership is going strong and looking for new ways to go. And the last example I just shared with you is the Sustainability Solutions Initiative, which is the wave of the future. We received a $20 million grant from the National Science Foundation to look at ways to go cross-disciplinary approaches. It funded 25 PhD research assistantships. That's pretty entrepreneurial and innovative. To bring scientists together, sociologists together, communicators together, to do research of how to move forward in project development, project completion, collaboration, and consensus building. And this particular grant that we have is focused on urbanization. What's the effects of urbanization? Forest ecosystem management. How do we improve that? And then what is the effects of climate change in different communities? And we've used the concept of sustainability not only in promoting our tremendous offshore wind energy, which I believe is, as you've heard in the news recently, has the potential to have the most significant investment of federal dollars in the state of Maine ever. Our Advanced Structures and Composites Center is in line to receive a grant totaling $95 million to develop the R&D and technology around offshore wind. That is going to transform the technology in offshore wind development. And it has the potential to transform the economy of Maine. Our role is to bring the technology and the science and hopefully the vision of what can be. And we look for our partners to help in that implementation. We want to be at the table to do that. We want to be big thinkers with you. We want to be blue sky thinkers with you. And if you are an alum sitting in the audience, you know that, and we're not going to sing it today, but the Stein song is our wonderful song that has reflected so many years of our alma mater. And one of my favorite lines on it is that this institution will always, is and always will be, the college of our hearts, always. And that is a strong feeling for every alum that goes to the University of Maine. But the thing I share with you and the thing I love about it is that this institution and Maine are inextricably linked for the future. And I'm here to share with you, and not to defend status quo and things of the past, but we have such a bright future together with this great gym that you, the state of Maine, have built. And I have the wonderful pleasure and privilege to lead at this moment in time. We want to come together and look to that blue sky future, to think creatively, to think out of the box. And don't forget that we have this great resource, and now our challenge is to do it wisely and with dispatch.